Hello, everybody, and welcome today to our interview with Joel Salomon. Joel, let's get right into it. So tell me, Joel, whereabouts are you? And just tell me a little bit about your background before we get into your story.
So I am coming to you from New York, over, over this side of the pond, and I call myself a master prosperity coach. I teach people how to change their money mindset, how to manifest money, and how to invest it either in their business or in stocks or whatever they're interested in. I have a long career in the financial services industry. FSA stands for Fellow of the Society of Actuaries. So I started my career as an actuary. And then I had a dream to be a money manager. And I achieved that dream 15 years later. Could talk about that if you like.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Do you want to carry on now, or shall I interrupt you with a few questions on it? Because I'm
go
really
ahead.
interested. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm really keen to know. So you were sort of deep in finance. So tell me about what was the kind of roles that what kind of roles were you doing?
So my first role was coding at an insurance company as an actuary. So I calculated the premiums you had to pay for your life insurance and disability. Uh, Went through many exams to become a fellow of the Society of Actuaries, but I didn't enjoy that job and had a dream to be a money manager. And so then shifted to credit analyst. I worked at a rating agency called Moody's, and
Mm, well known.
we assign ratings to, or Moody's assigns ratings to all types of institutions, and I was assigning ratings to insurance companies. And that was a fun job, traveling all over the United States, meeting with these companies, doing due diligence, and then uh, recommending to rating committees what the rating should be for those companies. And that was a stepping stone to get me into investing. And I then started working at an insurance company as a private investor for them, making decisions on what private investments they would invest in. And fortunately, that whole division was laid off, which I say in my book, The Nine Money Rules Millionaires Use, from bad things come good things, from terrible, awful things come amazing, great things. And so I was getting laid off from that job, and somebody else in the company said that they knew of a job within the company. It was in a credit risk management division, which I would be perfect for. They're looking for somebody who has credit analysis experience and could analyze insurance companies. And he said, there's only one condition. You're probably going to need to go to Zurich and work there for a while. And he didn't know this, and my future boss didn't know this, but I have a huge passion for traveling. And so I got the job, and 3 months later, I was living and working in Switzerland. And
Wow.
I did that for a year, almost a year and a half, traveled to 30 countries when I was there. My boss used to come to me on Monday mornings and say, so what capital city have you been to this weekend? And so I had the time of my life. Single guy, no responsibilities, expense account, living in Zurich, 2 hours from 30 countries in Europe. It was an awesome experience. And then I kept on asking, I was supposed to be there for 3 to 6 months. And I kept on extending. And finally, after the extension to almost a year and a half, my boss said to me, you need to go back to New York. So went back to New York, and the job wasn't the job I really wanted in my career. I had a great experience, and I started looking for another job, and I found a job at a small hedge fund. So I worked as a equity and bond analyst for them, a stock analyst and a bond analyst for them, investing initially in insurance companies. And then I got to invest in all types of financial institutions. And then my Citigroup sales guy called me and said, do you want to be a portfolio manager? And that was my dream, to manage a portfolio of stocks. And so I got the job and started working at Citi in 2008. Not the best year in the stock market. The stock market here in the US was down 40%. And financial companies, the only stocks I was invested in, went down a lot more, 57%. We managed to make my portfolio, we were up slightly, managed to make a little bit of money, made more money in 2009 and 10, and might actually still be there today, but there was a law that said banks can't own hedge funds, and we were all laid off, which gave me the kick in the butt to do my true dream, which was to have my own hedge fund. So I raised the money for my own fund, hired the lawyers and the accountants and the service providers, and found real estate space. And in 2013 in June, I launched Solomore Capital, my own hedge fund. And 4 years later, I went to a personal development course, and that completely changed my life and is the reason why I am now coaching.
So tell us about that moment, that course you went on, and why did it change? Because you were in your dream career at that point.
I thought it was my dream, but this is my dream.
Okay.
So I went to that personal development course, and two things happened there completely changed my life. First, we had a guest speaker speaking for 1 hour. This was a 3-day conference. He was speaking for 1 hour as a guest speaker. And when he spoke about stocks and stock options in particular, he made it sound easy. He said, you don't need much time, you don't need much money. This is how the rich people get rich, and options are essentially risk-free. And I was sick to my stomach. This was day 2 of the conference. I had people tapping me on the shoulder, whispering, Joel, does this make sense? Are options really risk-free? So after he was done, we went out of the auditorium. I told him, please don't do this. He has no idea about any of you individually, and most importantly, no idea about your belief that you can become rich using options. See, out of the 200 people, only a handful, like 5, were likely to become rich using options. And yet more than 50 ran to the back of the room to sign up. So that was the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened was we were given a wooden board 2 inches thick, and we were told we were going to break it with our bare hands. Have you done that, Kimberly?
No, no.
There was a
What's it
lot of
like?
fear in the room, a lot of fear. The exercise was called Obstacles Are Illusions. And on one side of the wooden board, we wrote our biggest obstacle. And then on the other side, our ultimate goal, which stumped me for a while. And then it hit me. Make everyone in this room financially free. Make everyone in this room financially free. And then I broke the board like everyone else did in the room. I went home that night and I couldn't sleep. First, the guy was in my head, and I realized if I could ever get up the courage to speak on a stage, kind of like I'm doing right now, I could be authentic, not mislead people, and be of service. And then the second thing going on in my head at 3:34 in the morning was that wooden board staring back at me from across my bedroom. Make everyone in this room financially free. And then it hit me. 4:30 in the morning, jumped out of bed. I quickly got dressed. I was in my office in Midtown Manhattan before the sun rose. And I sent an email to my investors telling them I'm giving them their money back. I'm shutting down my fund. I figured out my true purpose in life.
So that it was a fairly dramatic change, wasn't it? Because
Was
I guess you were earning fairly well as well, and then to go to something that is the unknown. What gave you that courage?
it was just a knowing. When you know, you know. Yeah, I talk rule number 1 in the 9 money rules is beliefs. What's your level of belief from 1 to 10? 10 absolute faith, a knowing, and 1 massive doubt. I just knew. I knew that I was supposed to be helping people. There were so many people I met during that conference that were really struggling. Actually, there were 200 people in the auditorium. Their net worth asymptotically was 0. There were people really struggling. And then you had this guy selling $1,000 program, misleading them. And that might have been their life savings that they poured into that. And I knew that once I got up the courage that I could do better. I could teach them the truth about money, that there's a million different ways to get rich. And for most people, it's not stock options. And he was convincing. And he probably believed it himself, which is fine for him. But what I teach now is there's so many ways to get rich, and rich is a good thing. And the first step is to know that you are deserving of it, right? Having the self-confidence. So it was a knowing. I just had absolute faith that things would work out. And in fact, right now I'm writing a book called your path to purpose and prosperity.
Mm.
And I'm writing it with a purpose coach, and she reached out to me and said that we need to write this book and you can write the prosperity piece. And I truly believe that when you're doing your purpose, you'll become more prosperous.
Wow. Okay, so you touched on so many points there. Let me just ask you about one. A lot of people struggle with the idea of becoming rich because they associate it with, or they don't feel deserving of it. They may not realize they've got those beliefs, but that is something that's there. How do you deal with that with people that you
Well,
come
the
across?
first is recognizing the problem, right? If you don't know you have a problem, then you can't solve it. So acknowledging, being open-minded enough to say, okay, I was taught some things growing up that didn't serve me. Now, it doesn't mean that your parents or teachers were ill-minded or wanted to do ill for you. It just means they didn't know any better. And they had their own beliefs and they were taught this stuff growing up themselves. And it's just they were innocent. And despite that, they taught you things that were not serving you. So you can learn things now that do serve you, that it's good to be rich, that it's good to be prosperous and abundant, because if you had $10 million, what could you do with, even giving away just 10% of it to your favorite charity or create your own charity? What would that be? And just have them dream a little bit, think a little bit differently, and know that you came here to thrive, not survive. So it's first acknowledging that there may be some limiting beliefs that are not serving them, and then teaching them the empowering beliefs around money, that it's good. And rich, really, I found that word has such a negative connotation for some people. It's a trigger. And so it's good to be prosperous, say prosperous or abundant, because that has a more all-encompassing feeling around it. And because it's not just about money, leading a rich life, leading a prosperous life is more than just money. It's enjoying what you're doing, it's being happy, it's being grateful, and it's the ability to give to others. And when you are abundant, you could give time, more of your time. Because I've met people working 3 jobs just to make ends meet, and they can't give their time, and they have a special gift, just like we all do, but they can't give it to anyone else because they're working 18 hours a day.
Mm, mm. Okay. And so roll back to that moment when you decided you were going to make that change. What did you do? What steps did you take?
So the first step was to acknowledge that this was the right decision. And then, physically shutting down the fund was the first step, which I sent out the email. That's not a legal way to shut down a hedge fund. My lawyer was very upset. My CFO was more upset. And it took a while legally to shut down legal entities and the accounting and selling the securities. All that took a lot of 2016 to do. And eventually by the end of the year, we had shut down all the funds. And then once I had sold all the stocks by probably April of 2016, I started, and now we had all the accounting and legal stuff, which was mostly being handled by my CFO. I could consciously think about, how am I going to start this business? And I started by creating a meetup group. Meetups were a little bit more prevalent before the pandemic, I think, at least here in the States. And so 15 people showed up for the first meeting, which was, I forget what the meetup was called exactly. It might have been something like, are you worthy of financial freedom, or can you become financially free too? And I just group coached 15 people in that first meeting and continued to do that for free for weeks until somebody came up to me at the end of a meeting and said, Joel, you're providing massive value here. You should at least charge a little bit for this. And so I started charging a donation. Hey, put a donation in a bucket if you want to, if you got some value out of this. And that's how it started.
And where has that journey taken you?
Great question. So now I have 7 years later, I have programs. So I teach a 3-month program on stock investing one-on-one. I teach a 3-month program to spiritual entrepreneurs on how to get their business to wherever it is now, double or triple. So they're making $20,000 or $30,000 US a month. And then I have my Money Miracles membership, which I started in September 2021. And the goal is to move people from wherever they are right now towards financial freedom as quickly as possible by teaching them the key concepts in the 9 Money Rules, as well as in my last book, Infinite Love and Money. And we have a community call once a week. I've created 7 hours worth of videos that people watch over a 6 to 12 month period. We have 38 guest experts who have added their own content related to abundance and prosperity. And then we have our private Facebook group where people post their money manifestations or other successes. They have accountability partners, and we have a reward system where people can win a free book, free course, all the way up to free lifetime membership in the Money Miracles membership. And I tend to forget this. People tell me I'm supposed to say this first, but anyway, the amount of money manifested since members have joined in September 2021 is $2,369,000 US dollars. 2,369,000.
Wow. So what kind of people join, and can you give us an idea of like somebody's story, or what people can
Yeah.
expect?
Yes. So I will say it's generally spiritual entrepreneurs, but it can be any entrepreneur. By
And
spiritual entrepreneurs,
I was going to say, explain that.
yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So I created that term because I was like, those are the people, right? They're the yoga teachers, the meditation teachers, the energy healers, the hypnotists, the Reiki masters, the infinite possibilities trainers. Those are my people. And they are at various stages of financial abundance, and some struggling. Maybe they've just started their business, maybe they're in early stage or maybe in later stage, but they're not generating a lot of free cash flows so that they have passive income. So we spend a lot of time teaching money mindset concepts to eliminate what we talked about earlier, those limiting beliefs around money. We go through every single week a money manifestation technique, because I have 10 specific ones that I've recorded in the membership, but everyone's different. And I say, whatever resonates with you, take. Whatever doesn't, throw out. I'm here to serve you. So I recently read a book called The 72 Keys to Manifestation. So we're now going through, not all of them. I think for me, about half of them resonated. So in 2025, we're going to be going through each of those each week. I also share an abundance meditation in the membership. And then anybody who comes to the weekly call, we do that abundance meditation together. We also do the oath of manifestation. And then I answer any question they have related to mindset, manifestation techniques, or investing. So as I mentioned, I'm a former hedge fund manager. I know stocks pretty well, but if you have a question on real estate or crypto or whatever you're thinking about investing in, I can help you. I had somebody ask about vending machines a couple of weeks ago. They were thinking about deciding between vending machines and real estate investing. So we talk through the economics of a vending machine versus investing in property.
Okay. And what about some case studies you've got, or some examples of?
Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. So we've had, in terms of manifestations, we've had a guy who came in a couple of years ago, just lost his job, and he dove in. He started watching the videos. He was attending the Q&A each week. And within a month of joining, he lives in Texas and I live in New York, and he happened to be in New York for a week, and we actually met in person. So he got an extra hour with me. Who knows if that helped, but I'll say it did. And he got a call and an email from a lawyer at a firm he used to work at 20 years ago, 23 years ago. And they were looking for him because he had stock in the company and it just gotten acquired. And so the stock vested, and they wanted to make sure the address they had on file was right so they could send a check for 322,000 US dollars to him. So that happened. I had a woman in the membership who wanted to sell her home, her second home, and she had a tenant in the home, and she had got the house appraised, and she then needed to let the tenant know that within the next 90 days you need to find another place to live. So the tenant came back and said, well, how much are you selling it for? And the owners in my membership said, well, how much would you purchase it for? And so the tenant came back to her with a number which was $189,000 more than the appraisal that the broker had done for her. She said, you got it, you can stay there. So she manifested an extra $189,000. I had a woman whose husband got laid off, which sound like a bad thing. Then right after she joined the membership, and she's in the energy of manifestation and learning these techniques and sharing it with her husband, who's not on the calls, but she is. And he found a job pretty quickly. And interestingly enough, he got, as part of the package, stock in the company. It was a public company here in the US. And within a year of him joining the company, they got acquired, and he got a $250,000 stock bonus. So those are like the big numbers. But every week we have people come on to the call, and I ask them, what's your new monies that have manifested? We have, so you could say that the first guy, 322,000, he's very close to financial freedom. But we have people manifesting a free course, like somebody won a free course. So we add, it doesn't have to be physical money, cash in hand, but a free course for $300. Or if you're an entrepreneur, and I say a money manifestation is surprise money. So if somebody comes out of the blue who you haven't talked to in 18 months and says, how much is your program now? I want to sign up. That's a money manifestation. You weren't working on that money to come in. You're just in a state of allowing, and then it flows. So we add those in, and sometimes somebody gets a free Uber ride, or the person in front of them pays for a Starbucks. I say everything is included. So write them all down, share them with me. We have people in my private Facebook group posting pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, just even €1, £1, or $1. Because I say the same energy that creates that small, quote unquote, small amount of money creates 10 million euros, pounds, or dollars.
Yeah.
And so when you are celebrating, you are grateful for the small amounts, watch the large amounts come soon.
So it's not just about teaching people, how to physically make more money from the money they've got, like, say with a hedge fund would have done in the past. It's really that it's a mindset, an
Yes.
abundant mindset.
Correct. So it's interesting because I thought was going to be spending more time teaching investing, teaching like how to business strategy. But I found that most of the people who join need help with their mind. And that's a foundational principle, right? I won't teach stocks, or I won't, like, every time a new group comes in, I won't teach them about stocks or business strategy. We start with the mindset. Because if you don't have that strong foundation, you're going to be buying when you should be selling and selling when you should be buying.
Mm. Yeah, fascinating. And can you share one of your perhaps most powerful manifestation techniques with people who are watching this?
Yes. So everything comes back to rule number one, which is belief. Right. And so this technique is just an affirmation, but I won't say just, because I gave it to someone last month and she manifested 25,000 US dollars in less than 1 month. So it's a powerful technique, but you have to believe it. So what you do is you say the affirmation as soon as waking up as possible. So if you have a partner, you don't want to wake them, maybe you go to the bathroom, it's okay. And you also say it right before you go to sleep, as close to REM sleep as possible. Now, again, if you have a partner, you might be doing it in the bathroom and then jumping into bed, so it's not optimal. But if you are okay and you share the technique with your partner, then again, the goal is to say it as close to REM sleep as possible. You want to get into an alpha state, and then you're going to write it down for 5 minutes. You set a timer and write it down for 5 minutes. And it's not, the whole energy of this process is not like I got to do this, but childlike curiosity. Joel shared this technique on this podcast. Let's try it and see what happens. So the affirmation is, I, include your name, have manifested at least, and then you put in the amount. Now, what I do with each person, so this is a little difficult because we can do it with you if you want. So Kimberly, what's your belief level that you can manifest at least 10,000 pounds in the next 30 to 60 days?
Oh, good question. Good question.
10 is absolute faith. I know this is going to happen. It's a knowing. And 1 is massive doubt. There's no way it's going to happen.
Okay.
1 to 10.
I'd say probably a 6.
Okay. So the goal is to get to at least a 7. So we're going to lower the amount, because usually lower amounts, we believe more.
Okay.
So what about 5,000 pounds?
Yeah, I'd say that's more like an 8.
Okay. So what you're going to do is, I state your name. I don't know if you want to use your maiden name, so you decide, married name, maiden name, whatever. Have manifested at least 5,000 pounds.
Okay.
That's it. You say it right when you wake up. You say it right before you go to sleep, and you write it down for 5 minutes every day for 30 days. After that, you're done. If it hasn't appeared yet, know that it's on its way. You've asked, the universe has answered. Now, it may not be here in the physical reality, but that's okay. It's on its way. And that's it.
And that phrase that you used is a lot of people would say, I want to manifest, but you're saying it as, I have manifested.
Correct. So let me share the importance of each of the words. So you put in your name because you want to acknowledge that it's you in the human body doing this, even though you're a spiritual entity in the human body. Have manifested, past tense. So you're tricking your subconscious mind to say, I've already done this. you say at least because you don't want to limit the universe, because you may feel like, okay, my belief is 5,000, that's high. But what if the universe has plans for 10 anyway? You don't want to limit it. Or maybe 50 or 100,000 quid. Why not? Right? So you say at least. And then what's really important is that's it. Don't say by June 1st or by March 31st, because I say we're not that smart. The universe has a plan for you to manifest this money. The universe has a plan for you to manifest tons of money. But for this particular process, what the idea is to get your belief level up. So now that you've done this amount, you can increase it the next time. Again, don't put a deadline on it. And so I say, one, we don't put a deadline because we don't know timing. And I also say don't put a deadline on because time is a human construct. And I also say that you could say either time's a human construct and it's just the now moment, or the sun's been around for 8 billion years. I went on a trip to Scotland with Mike Dooley on the WOW tour 2 years ago. And we were on this rock off of the Scotland, and they told us the rock was 2,000 to 4,000 million years old. So apparently the Earth is 2 to 4 billion years old. I thought it was some hundreds of millions. So anyway, if it takes you a few months compared to billions of years, that's instantaneous in the construct of time. So don't limit it by, okay, I got to get this done in the next. Now, I understand some people have come to me with like, they need to have money come in because their apartment rent or lease bill is due. And that's a problem because then this kind of energy is created. And this kind of white knuckling it, I've learned in my life, is not the way you create. It's this through flow and allowing. Mm. And so we have a problem with those kinds of manifestations. They have worked. And I will say that generally, this kind of energy is much more powerful.
And when you do that affirmation, then are you also taking actions that you think could lead to that in the meantime as well?
Well, absolutely. And I will say the universe, you're co-creating, and the universe can't find you if you're sitting in a fetal position on your bed when you're not sleeping. So I assume I'm talking to entrepreneurs when I give them this exercise, and I'm assuming that they're getting out into the world and they're taking baby steps and action in their business, and they're talking to people, or they're getting on a podcast, and they're just getting out there into the world and doing things. So that's my base assumption. And usually that's what's happening. I mean, the woman who manifested 25,000 US dollars last month or this month, she has her own podcast, and she has a business, and she has affiliates, and she had, it was mostly non-cash, but she had a construction project she was working on for a new retreat center that she's building. And $7,000 came from a free construction job. Now, that wouldn't have happened if she was called up in a fetal position on her bed. She's working on this retreat, right? So anyway, yes, absolutely. You have to get out into the world and be visible, and the universe has to be able to reach it.
Yeah, absolutely. And since making that change and offering this service, how has that experience transformed life for you?
Oh, every day it's just so much joy because I'm helping people every day. just doing this is a joy because I know that there's probably going to be somebody watching who just got some great value out of this. I give 30 minutes free to everyone in the world. So almost every day I'm on a call with somebody, helping someone to change their mindset, manifest money, learn about investing, learn about business strategies, and it's fun. And and my membership, I will say I really hate, I don't like to use the word hate. I really dislike when my membership call ends on Tuesdays. We do it 12:30 to 1:30 Eastern time. And I don't want the call to end because the vibration is so high with the community, and they raise my vibration, I raise theirs. So we're like up here in joy and passion and love. And I don't want that hour to end. So, it's a little bit selfish. I like keeping my vibration high, and the community, by serving them, I raise my vibration. So yes, it's a joy. And I will tell you, I was very stressed as a hedge fund manager. I was making a lot more money and being very stressed, and I'm making a lot less money and more joyous.
Mm. Can't put a price on that, can you?
Yeah, priceless.
And thank you so much for sharing your story. Just before we go, have you got a quote or a piece of wisdom you'd like to share with everybody?
So whatever the mind of man can conceive and bring himself to believe, he can achieve. And I don't want to say he, but whatever the mind of humans can conceive and bring themselves to believe they can achieve. So go out there and believe it, have faith, and you can achieve your heart's desire.
Thank you, thank you. And I shall, when I'm sending this video out to people, you'll be able to see the links to Joel and his work that he does in the books as well. So thank you so much, Joel, for giving your time today and sharing with us. It's been absolutely fascinating. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Appreciate you.